Good morning and welcome to the Board of Supervisors regular board meeting, Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. We will be going into closed session. Madam Clerk.
Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2 and E3, conference with legal counsel, re-anticipated litigation, one case, significant exposure to litigation, recipient of claim. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, Beasley versus County Workers' Compensation Appeals Court Case Number ADJ 213555816.
Thank you. We'll adjourn to closed session where we'll be joined by our other supervisors and county counsel. Thank you.
foster care when they received excellent care from their foster mom, while Mama Kitty, May, and her little sister arrived at the shelter for her babies. The mama cat has completely recovered and has been adopted by her foster mom, and the kittens have now returned to the shelter and are waiting to find foster mom. Lily, Billy, and Rosie have been raised in a loving foster home. The mama cat super friendly, gentle, and has been adopted by her foster mom. They spend their days playing together and waiting for someone to come into their communal rooms to join them. They can be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as a pair or even a trio. They're best friends and will grow up being your best friends together. They have already been spayed and neutered. They can go home with you right away to be adopted out separately, but it would be wonderful if they could be adopted as
Thank you. Yeah, it's not on right now. Oh, I'm not. All right, now it's gone. Perfect. I just. All right, now it's gone. Perfect. I just. All right, now it's gone. Perfect. I just.
All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. All right, now it's gone. I just. Meet Lily, Billy, and Rosie, gorgeous kittens who were newborns when they and their little sister arrived at the shelter with their badly injured mama cat. Their mama had emergency surgery, and the whole family went into foster care when they received excellent care from Rosie, gorgeous kittens who were newborns when they and their little sister arrived at the shelter her baby badly. The mama cat has completely recovered. Their mama has been adopted by her foster mom, and the kittens have now returned to the shelter. Excellent Billy and Rosie, gorgeous kittens who were Lily, Billy, and Rosie have arrived at the shelter her foster family. The mama cat has completely recovered. Their mama has been adopted by her foster mom. They spend their days playing together now and waiting for someone to come and take care from Rosie, gorgeous kittens who make Lily, Billy, and Rosie, but it would be wonderful to be adopted as a pair or even a trio. Their best friends will grow up. They spend their days playing together now and waiting for someone to come and take care. They can go right away. Lily, Billy, and Rosie, but it would be wonderful to be adopted as a pair or even a trio. Their best friends will grow up. They spend their days playing together now and waiting for someone to come and take care. They can go right away. Lily, Billy, and Rosie, but it would be wonderful to be adopted as a pair or even a trio. Their best friends will grow up. They spend their days playing together now and waiting for someone to come and take care. They can go right away. Lily, Billy, and Rosie, but it would be wonderful to be adopted as a pair or even a trio. Their best friends will grow up. They spend their days playing together now and waiting for someone to come and take care. They can go right away. Lily,
Great. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to our meeting. Could we please stand for the pledge? Can we remove our caps, please? Thank you. Supervisor Topanelli.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can we report out from closed session?
Closed session for today, September 9th. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2 and E3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, 1 case, significant exposure to litigation, receipt of claim. Board action, no reportable action taken. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, Beasley versus County Workers' Compensation Appeals Board Case Number ADJ J2 1355816. Board action, no reportable action taken.
Thank you very much. We'll move on now to staff announcements. Ms. Medina, Shauna?
We have a very rambunctious Mifa. She loves kisses and I've had to put on my lip gloss 5 times now. Good morning.
Morning.
Lisa Medina, Environmental Management Agency. This is Mifa and Shauna. So Mifa is a spayed female Alaskan Husky mix, and she's approximately 2 years old and weighs about 46 pounds. She was found wandering the roadways near Campo Seco. She has a chip. That's how we know her name is Mifa, after the Legend of Zelda. I think there are kids of that game. And we attempted to contact her owners, but with no luck. You can tell she's very loved. She came from a very loving family. She's been posted on social media as well with no luck. So she sits for treats, as you can see, and is very friendly, and she can relate to all humans and some animals, except for cats. We don't know that yet because we don't have a house cat. She loves being brushed. As with many Huskies, she has a high prey drive, and she likes to chase birds. So that's very common. She loves water, and every opportunity she gets, she wants to go into our kiddie pools that we have up there for our dogs when it's hot to keep them cool. We don't have an office cat, as I said before, because so we don't know what her prey drive is, but most likely she does have a little bit of a prey drive, so cats are included in that. So very sweet. So I wanted to announce, we have a couple events going on this Friday and also Saturday. This Friday, we have a Give a Dog a Second Chance. It's a foster and free adoption event. That's going to be taking place at Spence Feed and Ranch and Supply in Angels Camp from 12 to 4 o'clock. Again, that's this Friday, September 12th. And we're also looking to possibly speak to some people about fostering some of our pups. So that would be really nice. Our next event, provided by Focus, is a free rabies vaccine only clinic. Excuse me, it's a free vaccine and microchip clinic that's going to take place here at the Government Center from 9 to 11:30 a.m. That's this coming Saturday, so we're real busy. We've been doing really well with our vaccine clinics, and that's always a real positive thing. So do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Just a statement more so, she definitely had a child in her life before it seemed.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
With Mifa, because Mifa is from the Zelda game.
yeah.
And she's microchipped, so that's how we were able to establish that was her name. So when we Rama scanned her, that's her name came up.
And you're still not able to find the family?
No. Sometimes that happens,
Okay.
you know.
She had the
Yeah.
Could
basic,
have happened, they could have changed their phone number, they could have moved out
Aha.
of state.
okay.
You know? So
Yeah.
that's okay though,
Yeah.
because she's gonna go
I mean,
to another loving home.
With the warning about, you know, her being a chaser and other animals.
Yeah,
It's just because she was playing with a kid.
yes, yeah. So she's.
So they both chased it.
Yeah. But that is all I have. Does anybody have any other questions?
nope. She's got
And
great
Mifa-
eyes.
And Shauna,
Yeah.
she does. That's called heterochromia.
How common is that? Just out of
Very
curiosity.
common in Huskies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very common.
We have another one. It's just like.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
A different color.
Are there any other staff announcements? I think I have one. I'd like to congratulate the newlywed couple back there. Do you mind standing up and getting a round of applause? Come on. Thank you. We'll move on now to general public comment.
Recognitions?
Recognition.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm jumping the gun here. Recognitions, item 3, please.
Item 3, proclamation of behavioral health, adopt a proclamation declaring September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Calaveras County.
I'll hand the gavel over to Supervisor Andal.
That's Dawn's doing first.
Stop it. I'm really doing well here. Thank you. I've got me all excited.
It's
Thank you.
Stopper.
Stop it. Supervisor Stopper.
Thank you, sir. Whereas September is recognized nationally on Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, a time to promote understanding, resources, and support for those affected by suicide. And whereas suicide impacts millions of individuals and families, touching every community across the nation, including Calaveras County, parents, caregivers, healthcare providers, education, law enforcement, and others all affected by suicide in some way. Whereas increasing awareness and understanding of the factors related to suicide is essential to preventing it, supporting those in crisis, and reducing stigma through informed dialogue and compassionate engagement. And whereas community involvement is vital to suicide prevention through connection, understanding, and support. We can offer hope and help to those who may be struggling. And whereas the Calaveras County Health and Human Services Agency, through its Behavioral Health Services Division, is dedicated to raising awareness, offering education and training, and reducing stigma associated with suicide and suicide attempts. With this, if you see someone hurting in life and they put up a wall or anything, please just reach out and put your hand on them and let them know that there's always some place for them to talk, or give them an avenue to talk to someone. With that, would behavioral health or someone from Health and Human Services like to say something?
Mrs. Eaglehart.
Good morning, Wendy. Sorry, forgive me for my phone. While I was out last week, my staff moved me from our old building against my will. I wasn't ready yet, but they moved my computer. So I'm not hooked up to a printer yet, so I don't have any paper to go off of. Anyway, so good morning, Chair Hubbard, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in recognition of Suicide Prevention Awareness Month here in Calaveras. This proclamation represents more than just a formality. It's a commitment to acknowledging the painful realities faced by so many individuals and families in our community. It's also a chance to center the voices of those who have been directly impacted by suicide, whose lives who have been forever changed. For me, this is deeply personal. 7 years ago, I received a call from my sick cousin. Okay, sorry. He asked me to help him tell his children that their mother was gone. It was a moment of heartbreak that no family should have to face. That loss didn't just affect my cousin, it reshaped the lives of his children in a profound and lasting way. It's a reminder that when someone takes their life, the impact doesn't stop with them. It ripples outward to the parents, to the children, to an entire system of care and support. Not long after, I lost the closest person I had to a father figure. He lived with chronic pain for many years, and eventually the emotional burden became too much. Research shows that people living with chronic pain are at least twice as likely to die by suicide, and the risk increases the longer the pain goes untreated or unacknowledged. Some of you may remember when my sister stood before you and shared her story and what it was like to lose her father, my stepfather, to suicide just a couple of years ago. Each of these experiences have shaped not only my life, but the work in behavioral health. They've taught me that behind every statistic is a grieving family and a community in shock that lives and must find a way forward. One of the most difficult parts of my role as a behavioral health director is notifying our staff, clinicians, case managers, peers, support specialists when one of their clients has completed suicide. These are professionals trained to help, to listen, to hold space for others in crisis. Yet in those moments, they are left grappling with guilt, sorrow, and questions that may never have answers. You guys are making me cry more.
You're doing
Yeah,
You're doing well.
I did it like 100 times without crying, and now looking at your guys' faces. I know Marcos is gonna tell me I cry too much. He does all the time. We practice. That's my one criticism though. Sorry, Marcos. They ask themselves, what did I miss? Could I have done more? Even when they've done everything they could, it is a heavy burden and one that we as a system must acknowledge, support, and care for. Suicide doesn't just devastate families, it deeply affects those on the front lines of prevention. Today, we stand together to honor those we've lost, support families, friends, and professionals who continue to grieve, and recommit ourselves to prevention, awareness, and healing. We must continue to make space for honest conversations, reduce the stigma around mental health, and ensure that every person in Calaveras County knows that help is available and that they are not alone. Thank you for your time, partnership, and continued commitment to this critical work. So usually I always get somebody else to speak, and this is why, and everyone else backed out this year. So sorry you got me, but thank you guys.
This is your price. Don't forget.
Any other comments, staff or public? Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, members of the board, and to everyone gathered here today. My name is Rosalind Mary. I am a peer support specialist with behavioral health. And going off of what Supervisor Stopper said, community involvement is really important. With that in mind, on September 17th, we are having a Hope and Healing Walk. September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and while it's a time to shine a light on mental health, it is also a time to reflect on the struggles that so many of us face in silence. Each year, too many of our neighbors, friends, and loved ones feel overwhelmed by the weight of their pain, and tragically, some feel there is no way out. On September 17th, we will come together at Turner Park for a Hope and Healing Walk. This isn't just a walk, it's a way to honor those we have lost, to stand beside those who are struggling, and to remind them that they don't have to face their battles alone. We will walk in silence, we will walk with our hearts full, and we will walk with purpose. I invite everyone in this room and every person in our community to join us. Whether you've been personally affected by the pain of loss, or whether you simply want to show your support for those who need it most, your presence matters. Because sometimes just knowing that someone cares, just knowing that someone is willing to walk alongside you can make all the difference in the world. It's easy to think that our individual actions don't matter, that our voices can't be heard, but that's exactly the kind of thinking we are trying to change. When we stand together, when we share our stories, when we offer our shoulders to lean on, we send a message that mental health matters. We send a message that you matter. This walk is a reminder that hope is never lost, and there is always room for healing. I hope you will join us on September 17th at Turner Park to take that first step together, to show our county and the world that we stand united against the tragedy of suicide. Together, we can change lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind.
Anything further? If you don't mind, I'm gonna add that not every loss of life is taken intentionally, but people are going through hard times and they may not have the intention, but the carefree actions, they may not see the consequences before them. So keep that in mind. And it takes someone else to reach out sometimes and just even put a hand on someone else. So thank you with that. With that, any other comments from the board, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Chair Hubbard, a second by Supervisor Toffenelli. All those in favor? Aye. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors, County of Calaveras, this 9th day of September 2025 does hereby declare September as Suicide Prevention Month. We applaud the ones that are out there helping the people that need help. Thank you. Wendy, come up here and cry with us. Yeah. That's their call. The ones that would like to. Anthony, I want to stand next door for a second.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more, sorry. We'll count here. Okay, perfect.
I don't know. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to item 4.
Item 4, proclamation, Clerk of the Board of Supervisors, adopt a proclamation declaring the month of September 2025 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Calaveras County.
And I'll pass the gavel to Supervisor Ando.
Whereas each year, more than 15,000 children in the United States are diagnosed with cancer, a life-threatening illness that remains the leading cause of death by disease among children. And whereas children and teens fighting cancer endure countless surgeries, treatments, and emotional challenges, while continuing to display extraordinary strength and resilience. And whereas September is nationally recognized as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, symbolized by the gold ribbon, to raise awareness, inspire action, and honor and courage of childhood cancer warriors, survivors, angels, siblings, and families. And whereas many organizations, including the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection, are dedicated to helping these children and their families by providing a variety of patient psychosocial services to children undergoing cancer treatment at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital, at Stanford in Palo Alto, UCSF Benoist Children's Hospital, Kaiser Permanente Medical Center, as well as participating hospitals throughout the country, thereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection also sponsor Courageous Kid Recognition Awards, family sailing programs, pet-assisted therapy, handmade get well cards, and hospital celebrations in honor of a child's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. Cancer affects all of us in very personal ways, especially when our children are involved. Is there anybody here in the public to speak to this? Anybody on the board?
I will say that I was able to get a tour of Danny Thomas's hospital in for children with cancer, and I've never seen braver people in my entire life. It's amazing what these children go through and how strong and resilient they are.
With that, do I have a motion for this proclamation?
I'll move this item.
A second?
A second.
All those in favor?
I
Aye. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors declares September 2025 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Calaveras County, and hereby calls upon all citizens, parents, governmental agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, hospitals, schools, and colleges in Calaveras County to support efforts that will increase awareness of and support for children and families dealing with cancer. Through these efforts, together, we can provide hope and support for those in our community who are facing the challenges of childhood cancer. Anybody can accept this?
Yeah, Mark's come up. Thank you. True point.
Mhm.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll move on to general public comment.
Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If the public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Mr. Butner.
My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras 2026election.com. On September 11th, the Board of Supervisors Chair will deliver the 2025 State of Calaveras County Address. In contrast to the positive spin the chair will most likely present, I'll provide you now with several preemptive rebuttal points. Let's call it the 2025 State of Calaveras County Ethics, Competency, Transparency, Accountability, and Corruption Report. To summarize, Calaveras County, despite its many virtues enjoyed by its residents and visitors, longtime and new, with its natural beauty and resources being a bountiful but underutilized economic asset, finds its economic growth thwarted. Why is that? I allege that its economic growth is thwarted by ethically challenged leadership in government and principal business and tourism promotion bureaus. How can we entrust our annual county budget of several $100 million to all of you when the 4 longest serving district supervisors allegedly have dozens of campaign finance violations of the Political Reform Act, years old, and you are either the subjects of open investigations by the Enforcement Division of the California Fair Political Practices Commission or have already received at minimum an FPPC warning letter? Why does this administration continue to ignore the fact that the Calaveras Visitors Bureau has since 2021 perpetuated the misrepresentation of its mutual benefit nonprofit corporation designation? Who is responsible within county government for ignoring the fact that county council remains derelict in this matter, exposing the government to allegations of it being complicit with the CVB's alleged intentional misrepresentation of its mutual benefit nonprofit corporation designation and misallocation of transient occupancy taxes jeopardizing county finances? Is it the CEO or the Board of Supervisors? Where is your plan and execution to credibly address our recovery from the multi-year economic stagnation that contributed to the staggering reported loss of 340 tourism-related jobs in 2023 and 2024, or from the reported $4.6 million lost in direct tourism earnings between 2023 and 2024? Have you considered the legal ramifications of the county council, the county CEO, the district attorney's office, and the sheriff's office continuously ignoring a citizen's credible, evidence-backed allegations of misconduct concerning county government leadership? Is it acceptable that in the span of 10 months, 2 of our Calaveras Superior Court judges, one current and one former, were publicly admonished by the California Commission on Judicial Performance for repeated and numerous displays of judicial misconduct? Members of this ethically challenged government have invited undesired scrutiny at the state level. My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras 2026election.com.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Jared Hungerford, and I'd like to introduce myself to you as the new Calaveras County Superintendent of Schools. I have been working for CCOE this is my 9th year, but only in my 3rd month as the new leader of that organization. And I just wanted to come to thank you for your support for students and for youth in general in our county, particularly as we just heard and had mental health professionals up here talking about the challenges that so many in our community face. And we've seen definitely an increase in need among youth in that area. And so we have very good relationships with county agencies working with children and with families in our county. And we're very thankful for that. And I look forward to continue to work with all of you. It is my vision that knowing that young people and adult learners in our county have both advantages and disadvantages living here, that every student in this county receive the best possible education in a safe and welcoming school, and that they're ready to choose their own path in life and have the skills and knowledge that will enable them to succeed moving forward. So I thank you for your partnership and support in that vision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
Thank you, Mr. Hungerford.
Sorry, excuse me. First off, my name is Byron Bogart. I'm a licensed cultivator here in Mountain Ranch. And it's humbling to follow those 2 proclamations. As somebody that lost 2 friends in high school to suicide, I echo the new superintendent's sentiments and anything you can ever do. And also as an uncle of my niece had leukemia. And every day when I started to feel bad for myself, you think about these kids and their parents that are dealing with that. And all of a sudden, my problems are pretty minimal, even though that's why I'm here today to talk about a problem and to address a problem of the cultivation situation here in Calaveras County. I'm not going to get into the details of my particular instance, but I think there's 2 troubling things that came up out of a hearing that I had last week on the revocation of my license. And one is that county council admitted to selective enforcement. And the ordinance was passed to have uniform enforcement. And if we have selective enforcement, it's on testimony, and I'm going to request the transcripts, and I have my own recording of it, but it's troubling. It's troubling that the county would admit to selective enforcement. Secondly, it's troubling that Mr. Oliver, who's the head of the cannabis department, has admitted to selective enforcement as well. And he's the one that has the power. And so that's extremely troubling, especially when he's made threats to me personally, and now I'm in this process. But I think the question that you guys need to ask as the council is that this, this policy isn't invented. This policy comes from you. And so I would encourage you guys to ask for cannabis to be put on the agenda and have county council, assistant county council, Miss Lewis Moss or Moss Lewis come up and articulate why there's selective enforcement. Secondly, have Mr. Oliver articulate why after 60 days of a non-payment, they're simply going after revocation instead of working with the cannabis operators in what is a absolutely challenging environment. Instead of just going straight to killing us and wiping us out, why not work with us? Literally for now close to a decade, I have done everything that you guys have asked me to do, going all the way back to 2016. I paid the taxes, I paid fees, I cultivated when I could cultivate. I didn't cultivate when you told me I couldn't cultivate. I'd never sued anybody, didn't do anything. I'm following the rules the entire time. But now after this process and being specifically targeted by Mr. Oliver and what's going on, I'm done. I'm done. You're going after me, my family, my kids, my livelihood, and I am done. And I'm stopping it. The last thing that I want to highlight that I think it's important to ask Mr. Oliver as well as County Council is the ordinance specifically calls for an annual tax. And the tax as implemented now is being implemented as a quarterly tax. I should be taxed on my 2025 canopy, the permit that I was given for 2025, and I should be taxed on that. Instead, the county is taxing me on 2024 canopy, specifically going against the ordinance that I have here that you guys passed. And it's troubling to me that this is the mindset. And so I would just encourage the chair and you guys to invite Mr. Oliver back up to explain these things. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Byron, I will call you later today.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda item number 6. What am I talking about? I am really at it today.
Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request a removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion.
Apologies. Thank you. Do any board members wish to pull any items from consent agenda? No. Does any member of the public wish to pull any of the items from the consent agenda?
We have no online requests.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Move on to the regular agenda now. Item 14.
Item 14, resolution, adopt a resolution ratifying the declaration by the Director of Emergency Services of a local state of emergency beginning on September 2nd, 2025, due to the TCU September lightning fire complex.
Mr. Holt.
Morning, board. Nice.
I will echo the same sentiment.
We hang it up in the closet after it's rainful, but it actually just keeps itself, my vision.
So I brought, there was one small correction, to highlight that, our activation was due to the 2-7 fire, but I do have a statement I'd like to read. Honorable board, ladies and gentlemen, community members, first responders, and partners in public safety. I stand before you today with a deep sense of gratitude as we reflect on the events of the 2025 TCU September Lightning Complex incident here in Calaveras County. In the span of just hours, 21 separate fires erupted across the TCU as lightning storms swept through our foothills. It was a situation that stretched our firefighting resources to the absolute max. I was able to verify with TCU that morning staffing on September 2nd stood at 19 engines within the unit. 19 engines that would be responsible for responding to and containing a total of 21 wildfires. Supported by our local agencies, Murphy's Fire was able to provide 3 engines, 1 water tender, and 4 chief officers. Evans Pass Fire with 1 Type 1 engine that later transitioned into a Type 3 engine.
Copperopolis Fire with 3 engines, 1 water tender, and a chief officer. And San Andreas Fire with an engine and water tender. And lastly, Altaville Maloney's with 2 tenders, an engine, and 1 chief officer. For reference, a typical wildfire response would be an initial dispatch of at least 4 engines and 1 chief officer or battalion chief, just to highlight how thin these resources were stretched on September 2nd. And yet, in the face of those odds, our firefighters and law enforcement rose to the challenge. Local and state crews, armed with local knowledge of our ridges, canyons, and communities, made all the difference. They stood on the front lines, made critical decisions, and claimed victory where it mattered most, protecting lives, homes, and the very heart of our county. Their courage and dedication are why we are able to gather here today in safety. To our law enforcement officers from the County Sheriff's Office, CHP, and allied agencies, your tireless work ensured orderly evacuations, protected our neighborhoods, and offered a calm and steady leadership when fear was at its peak. You reminded our community that they were never alone. To our emergency partners and volunteers, dispatchers who answered countless calls, Health and Human Services, Public Health, Animal Services, Red Cross teams, and community organizations, who opened shelters, utility workers who restored power, and neighbors who cared for one another. You showed us the true meaning of community. The September lightning complex fire was more than a firefight. It was a test of coordination, courage, and community. And Calaveras County passed that test. Not because the challenge was small, but because the people were strong. On the 10-year anniversary today of the Butte Fire, let us pay homage to the painful memories, but also celebrate the victory and how far we have come in rebuilding and the strength of our community's resilience now, 10 years later. In the face of unprecedented fires in multiple communities and resources stretched to the max, our public safety professionals ensured we do not have to face another devastating disaster a decade later. Although every response to calamity is fraught with criticisms, we must enjoy the victory that those who wish to counter the dedicated hard work of our public safety officials and first responders with public critiques will have the privilege to do that here in Calaveras County from the safety of their own homes. I'm a firm believer that leadership determines outcomes. From my position, I have the privilege of observing, interacting, and coordinating with many different cooperators within the county and state. I will firmly stand here today and state that our county is graced with the presence of great leadership. From our CAL FIRE unit chief and local fire chiefs to our dedicated sheriff and everyone within those ranks. Their strong leadership skills and decision-making set the tone and ultimately is the backbone of what truly means to serve this community and prevent another disaster. On behalf of Calaveras County, I extend my deepest thank you to every firefighter, every deputy, every dispatcher, and every volunteer. And lastly, every resident who stepped up. You proved that when our resources are pushed to the breaking point, our commitment to one another will never fail. In closing, I ask this board to not only ratify the proclamation, but to also lead this body in public meeting with an emphatic round of applause to our dedicated, brave first responders. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, members of the board. As all of you guys know, but for the benefit of the audience here, my name's Kevin Bohall. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations here in Ptolemy, Calaveras. I appreciate all the comments that were just made. I did want to speak a little bit. First thing I was going to start with, obviously, was the anniversary of the Butte Fire, which obviously had a long-lasting impact on, obviously, Calaveras County. But I did want to extend some of the things that occurred on September 2nd specifically. So obviously, this lightning siege started at 0400 a.m. So first thing before everybody was even woke up, although I would imagine almost everyone here did get woke up by their dogs and all the other things that were going along at that point. And then obviously with those 21 fires that happened all at once, we were stretched really thin across 4 different counties, with the biggest impact being Ptolemy and Calaveras County. Everybody went to work though. So we had all of our firefighters went to work, all of our collaborators, all of our partners, our law enforcement partners were immediately working on evac warnings and orders as needed. And we continued to put resources where they needed to be throughout the day through the 4 counties. As things got thinner and thinner, we continued to request resources through the normal mutual aid system in order to support this effort. As that occurred, there were also other fires in neighboring counties. Amador County, Mariposa County, both had multiple starts. The other thing that I'd like to elaborate on probably is the track of the lightning that came through. So we did have projected weather coming in. It was supposed to be above the 4,000 foot area with potential for lightning. And this actual storm tracked from Highway 99 to about the 3,000 foot level, which is extremely abnormal. So when that occurred, obviously we're going to get into more populated areas than we normally have during these lightning events. So that obviously caused us a lot of different, I guess I would say, challenges in order trying to deal with what we had to do. And then we had a second lightning, impact of lightning that came through somewhere around noon, that essentially everything that we were starting to get containment on was getting blown in all other different directions. But resources continued to fight the fight for about 36 hours straight, most of those resources before we started to get a reprieve where the weather started to end up more in our favor. The week previously, also, we had above the 90th percentile for dryness, humidity levels, and all those other things. We weren't getting humidity recovery. So we were pretty much kiln dried lumber, ready to go when it started. And then obviously, shortly after, we ended up having better weather. The resources started coming in and we started getting containment on those fires. And now exactly a week later, we only have 3 fires out of the 21 that aren't in patrol status. So that's a huge lift right there. Some other things that occurred is we did apply for fire management assistant grants. We were awarded a fire management assistant grant specifically for the 2.7 fire. So those funds will be reimbursed by the federal government up to 75%. When it comes to the suppression effort, and that's all agencies that participated, which is a really big win for the county. And then as far as structural loss, we did lose 95 structures throughout the whole complex, but in Calaveras County, we only had 2 structures that were destroyed and 1 damaged. So overall, the silver lining in this is I talk about different things when I do the briefings, and one of the things I would say that's motivational here is adverse conditions create great collaboration. And I think as far as everyone that was a part of this, I think that we couldn't have had a better outcome for what we were faced with. And I think the decisions that we made and the actions that people took came out with an appropriate outcome that was the best thing for the citizens of Calaveras County. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, Stacy, would you mind, as a way of just a very small token of saying thank you to our first responders, the residents of Highway 4, just wanted to say thank you. Actually, Stacy, would you mind, as a way of just a very small token of saying thank you to our first responders, the residents of Highway 4.
Thank you so much for that, sir.
Is there any public comment regarding this item? Is there any comment online?
We have no online public comment.
I'll bring it back to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Sir, the lightning complex fire, we're very fortunate for the lightning response by everyone involved and the experience, Mr. Bohal, your team, all the volunteers throughout all the departments and everything else out there. It could have been much worse, but with that, our hearts and our sister county go out to those in Chinese camp, and their losses. So I just want to say a word for those. I mean, it was devastating in a small area and not everyone was fortunate. So we just need to be reminded about that. With that, with the emergency declaration, I'll make a motion if that's fine, sir.
I just wanted to make one comment. I also wanted to recognize here in the room, Copper Fire. They were by themselves for quite a while fighting down in Copper, especially on the 2.8. And I just want to make sure to recognize that, there's a lot of people that sacrificed over those first 2 days to really make sure that communities were protected. So thank you. And with that, I'll second.
Supervisor Pavlinash, did you have any?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you very much for all the work and all the volunteers, and Eric, good job. You were just all of a sudden 12 o'clock on that Tuesday, it all went. Well, but you were right there. Thank you.
I wanted to say thank you so much for organizing the tour and getting Supervisor Follendorf and I out there so quickly. It was hugely important, and I'm so thankful to the CEO and to the sheriff and to CAL FIRE for making that happen. I also want to say thank you to Ironstone, the Tanners, defensible space. It's all about defensible space. And I think that our outcome would have been a lot different had they not done the work that they did. So thank you.
I'm into that, so.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to item 15.
Item 15, action item, administrative office, adopt debt advisory committee recommendation for animal shelter project finance.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I know this has been a long road for this animal shelter. I'm Teresa Hitchcock, the CEO, and today I'll be presenting financing options for the construction of our much-needed animal shelter. This presentation outlines the work of the Debt Advisory Committee and our recommended path forward. And I see Kathy Gomes, our auditor controller, is in the room. So thank you, Kathy, for your work on this as well. As many of you know, we continue to face a financing gap for the shelter project. Over the past year, we've explored grant opportunities, but unfortunately, none have materialized. In response, the Debt Advisory Committee has evaluated several alternative financing options to ensure that we can move this project forward. So we've narrowed our focus to 3 primary financing options: bond financing, USDA financing, or an iBank infrastructure loan. Each of these options has distinct advantages and challenges, and I'll walk you through each one in detail or more detail. First of all, bond financing. Bond financing involves issuing municipal bonds to raise capital. This spreads the cost over time and minimizes the immediate impact on the general fund. However, it does require hiring bond counsel and, more importantly, voter approval through a ballot measure. The next regular election isn't until June of 2026, which introduces a significant delay for this project should we choose to go with that option. The next thing that we looked at was USDA financing. USDA financing offers access to federal funds and potentially lower interest rates. However, it adds to our debt obligations and requires a review under the National Environmental Policy Act, or more commonly known as NEPA, which could significantly delay the project and introduce additional mitigation requirements. Finally, iBank. The third option is an infrastructure loan through iBank. This program offers low-interest loans for eligible projects like ours. The county qualifies as a borrower, and the application process is more streamlined than the federal programs. While it still adds to our debt, it avoids the regulatory and political hurdles of the other 2 options that were evaluated. This table summarizes the strategic considerations for each option. As you can see, bond financing has the lowest general fund impact, but the highest timeline and political risk. USDA financing is moderate across most categories, but carries regulatory delays. iBank offers the best balance of low regulatory complexity, minimal timeline risk, and no need for public engagement or voter approval. Given the urgency of the shelter project and the lack of grant funding, the Debt Advisory Committee recommends that the board direct staff to pursue financing through iBank. This option provides the most timely and affordable path forward. To conclude, the iBank loan offers the best combination of cost effectiveness, speed, and feasibility. We will continue to evaluate financing strategies as the project progresses, but this approach allows us to act now on a project that is both urgent and essential. This concludes my presentation. Again, the Debt Advisory Committee is recommending that we move forward with exploring financing through iBank. Any decisions would be brought to this board for further consideration, such as timing, interest rates, and all of those other financing matters. So no, the Debt Advisory Committee would take no action that would not be brought to the board. This would just give us the authority to explore the option of iBank financing.
Thank you. Is there any comment or question from the board?
Well, going to your financing comparison of financing operations under the iBank loan that you're pushing or would like to see done if we go impact of the general fund. What is moderate? Exactly what is moderate? Do you have, or maybe Kathy or?
So we can spread the payments for the animal shelter over, say, 20 to 30 years. We've looked at some calculations and we believe that a 20-year financing would probably provide the best of both worlds, where you would have lower payments and faster payoff, obviously, than 30 years. So it would have a moderate impact because we had an HVAC financing many of you are familiar with. We just paid that off this year. So the amount that we were paying towards the HVAC financing could now go towards this iBank loan. That's what we were looking at as far as financing options.
Smile and yes. And thumbs up too.
Supervisor Palmbrook?
I support staff's recommendation. I was a little worried about the HVAC, but getting that confirmation it's paid off, that wouldn't be two payments we're paying to a loan. So that makes me feel better about that.
Supervisor Stopper?
You know, with the understanding that moving forward on the animal shelter is pertinent, you know, it's been held off on for far too long. Ms. Gomes, you know, you're in favor of this new loan. What's the difference between the loan that we got for the HVAC system that you weren't in favor of? So that I can have a full understanding.
The reason
And probably timing,
yeah, the reason I didn't approve the HVAC is I believed that replacing so many HVAC units and borrowing to do it didn't make sense. I felt we should have replaced chunks of it at a time and avoided the borrowing. Animal shelter, the only way we can make this happen is by getting a lot of money.
That makes sense with a lot of things in life, okay, so yes, okay.
Way, that's the big difference.
Thank you. That's the major difference in your support, not so much that you
also
make the decision.
Yeah, I also
And
believe
sign off.
that if the board's choice is to get this done, bond financing, which pushes the borrowing on the taxpayers, is iffy, lots of challenges, and this is the right thing.
Well, I mean, more so I see the challenges is I don't see that much building going on.
Right.
I mean, that's the largest lift I can see, so that would come back and make the impact to the general fund exorbitant. Because I've seen it when bonds, like with the school system through COSD, that they got to a certain point, building was going on great, and then all of a sudden everything took a dive. And then that fell onto them having to fill the hole, which would be falling onto our general fund. But them, teachers were cut. That affected our children, so. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer. I appreciate it.
Could I ask you, do you know how long or what the time frame is for doing the investigation with iBank?
I don't think it's horribly long, but we have to convene meetings, the advisory committee, and then bring it back to you.
Okay.
So the first thing we'll do is bring back a resolution that we have to provide to iBank saying that the board supports this method of financing. And then we'll work with them on terms and interest rates and all of those other financing issues. We would like to get an approval prior to going out to bid so that we know that we have financing in place prior to bidding the project out. So we're hoping to fast track it, but again, it's going to depend on how all of that
So we're
conversation goes.
So having financing in place means that we can pay for it. Essentially, I mean, this is the same thought process behind put fees forward for special districts, you know. You get to a certain point, then you have the money to pay for the project.
Correct. I mean, for most people who've ever purchased a house, it's the same thing as getting pre-approval for a loan so that you know how much house you can buy. We need to get pre-approval for a loan so we know how much animal shelter we can afford. That way we have that information prior to getting our bids back.
We have to have this in place before we go to RFP.
Right, which makes complete sense as someone that owns at least 90% of their house, you know, not owns, but is paying off on 90% of a house. With that, you know, the only thing with the process moving forward is like the same thing I always keep in mind when many times a animal shelter or any other capital project is designed, the engineering architect firm generally charges 10% of the total cost of what the design is. Now, mind you, everyone's, you know, flying straight and narrow. So generally someone wouldn't necessarily design a $50 million thing to be able to pull down $5 million on their work, you know, as opposed to a $20 million project. But with that, then contractors are going to know what they can bid up to. So that's just my hardship with the process, even though it makes complete sense because we can't put out the bid to build something that we don't have the money for. So that's all.
Is there any public comment regarding this item? Any comment online? Oh, Ann.
We do not have any public comment online.
Sorry, Ann.
That's okay. This is really thrilling to listen to, that we have gotten this far and we're getting so close. Of course, this is something that Gimme Shelter and the animal advocates of this county support. And I know that we're still working on major fundraising with different businesses. I'm not sure where that all stands at this point, but we are certainly willing to continue working with you to raise funds from other, you know, aspects of the county to help out with this. So yes, let's keep it going.
There'll be a lot of internal infrastructure that will need to be purchased. So
Yes.
that is so helpful. And actually, hang on just a second. I'm going to give you this brick back. Sit there forever.
You're giving me a brick.
Hey, Martin, we haven't voted yet. Hold on to that.
Am I supposed to know what this is for?
That goes back to Gimme Shelter. We have some ideas the next time we meet, but I want to make sure
Okay.
you got it back.
I think I know what it's for.
Yeah, I thought it was
Giving them ammunition.
You just changed my vote, Mark.
Seeing no other public comment, I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Fallendorf.
Make a motion to support staff's recommendation of the iBank option to explore that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Mind you, this is exploring the loan so far, so it's not a shovel on the ground at this point. So just till now out loud. But I'm excited too.
We move on to item number 16.
Item 16, agreement OES. 1, make a public benefit finding. 2, authorize board chair to execute 3 as-needed agreements for Cosgrove Creek vegetative management, each with a term of September 10th, 2025 through June 30th, 2028, with the following contractors: Lone Pine Tree Service in amount not to exceed $372,780. Burnbot in an amount not to exceed $412,020, and Nate's Tree Service in an amount not to exceed $857,001.60. And 3, give staff direction as to the date to issue a notice to proceed to an as-needed contractor if CAL FIRE is unable to perform all or part of the work.
Thank you.
Morning again, board. So last year we came, last fall, roughly this time, with a vegetative management agreement that we did in Cosgrove. We were to that. It was great. Board direction last year was to get a multi-year contract in place. So how we got here is we initially looked at a multi-year contract with one vendor. And then another opportunity came up. So in the past, CAL FIRE has their Conservation Corps or Vallecito crews. That has dwindled in recent years. So last year, that's why we weren't able to go with them. By far, they are the most cost-effective manner that we can achieve our goals in Cosgrove. So through Supervisor Stopper, we were able to get a contact again. And we worked to see about having CAL FIRE again resume that project. That delayed things a bit in getting it to the board, but it is pertinent. So we have entered into an MOU with CAL FIRE to do that with their conservation crew. But as we know, there is a caveat to that. They may be deployed to fires, much like we have dealt with this last week throughout the state. So we went back to the drawing board. We flew another request for quotes that if CAL FIRE cannot be deployed out, or if they get deployed out and they cannot continue the work, given our window of operating time within the Cosgrove Creek repairing corridor, that we would have backup ability to call one of our contractors and them activate within 72 hours to resume work. So I bring those contracts to the board today for approval and ask for direction on a date that is sort of a drop dead date. That if we cannot have CAL FIRE in there because they are deployed, they have some contingencies in place to obviously hope to see that through with other crews, that we get a drop dead date to know when to activate these contracts and get a higher price contractor in there, but that can complete the work. So that is my request for the board today.
Thank you. Any board questions?
I would just hear what Supervisor Toffenall has to say.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Jamie, so much for both of you working on this. You did have a contract that you were going to bring forward and had questions to it, and we went and went through this other route that we've gone through, and thank the Supervisor Stopper. And I just want to make it very clear that these numbers are for 3 years, and this is per acre. It was bid per acre in case CAL FIRE goes in, can only do so much of it, gets drawn back out. We can bring these in, and this is per acre. Those are the limits of those contracts that they can spend. But that way we have a little bit of control over how much is being spent on it. My concerns when I saw the other contract, we put so much into the budget for it and it was over the budget. Which was one of my other concerns that I had with it when I saw it come back. But I think this way we have some control, and the weather hopefully will be with us. We're supposed to get some rain this week, which will help us. And then we're going in CAL FIRE is supposed to start on October 1st. Get out there on October 1st if they have the manpower available to do so. And then again, this is per acre, so I think it's a great way we did it. We have 3 companies here, so we're not just one and them tell us, oh, we can't get out there until then or whatever. We can go to the next one and we got 3 options to get somebody out there to get it done within the time frame that we have. And again, it's per acre, so I think it's great. I want to thank you both for working on this very hard and keeping me updated on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to confirm, sir, yes, these 3 contracts are a quote unquote worst case scenario. If we could never get CAL FIRE in there to do it over 3 years, that would be the amounts per contract.
Correct, over 3 years.
Yeah.
Is there any other board comment?
I just want to say thank you for making it for this long duration. I'm really happy to not be having to hear this come the end of September and we're in crisis. So thank you for building it for multi-year.
I share that sentiment.
CEO?
I just wanted to make sure, Mr. Holt, I believe one of your questions was, should CAL FIRE not complete the work? By what date would we want to call in one of these additional contractors to complete the work? I just wanted to make sure that we got that direction prior to this item being moved forward.
Thank you. So we do have a window of basically October 1st until February to get this done. Given the dry conditions out there, we could be looking at, November, December, these crews being deployed. So I would like direction from the board in this item of when that drop date is to activate one of these contracts to get them in.
And if there is rainfall, we have to wait a couple days for it to dry out. We can't just let it rain, next day go out there. And then all the equipment has to be cleaned and before they go back out there. And one of the cutoff parts of the cutoff is when there's streaming water through there, we have to stop. So, we have the window of October and into November, just depending on the weather. It's all based on the weather and the water flowing through the creek, if it is or if it's not. So.
The October 1st is not so much set in stone with our permit so much as a botanist or biologist going out there, and it's the season when the birds breed, which isn't going to change much.
No,
With that said, I will follow Supervisor Toffanelli's recommendation, but understanding the Conservancy's timelines and how our fires go. So you brought it up. It may go into December. It could. And then also cognizant, yes, we can go through to February, but that's actually later than our rain season already. So then we won't be dealing with the potential of floods hitting the vegetation that we're trying to deal with. So with that in mind, I would like to give you a little bit of discretion as, oh yes, but I would throw up, give them the timeline of October to be able to fall in line and get it done. But with the way the floods have come in the last so many years, it comes in the end of December, regardless of the small rains that may set us back going into the end of December. So I would like to open the door for you to put it out in the beginning of November, like November 1st, if things are looking like we aren't going to be able to get help. And then, what you seeing way the fires are going and everything, if they're curtailing down and everything, then you can be like, hey, we can get some more out of them before we do it or not. So, but that's my suggestion. And if Mr. Toffanelli has more to it, then I would follow his recommendation.
No, that's fine. We've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Cal FIRE came in after and did more work. And we did go into November. Last year we were in November because certain circumstances. I don't think we'll be able to get to February. I don't think the weather's gonna, I think we'll be very lucky if we don't get it cleaned out in October, which I hope we do. Just October is done, we walk away from it. We have to go in November. You don't know, it's been kind of a strange year weather-wise. Again, we're supposed to have some rain during this week. You don't know what's gonna happen in October. You don't know what's gonna happen in November. So I think it's very good thing that we need to just get in there and get it done as quickly as we possibly can. So with that,
Let me ask for public comment. Is there any public comment? Any comment online?
We have no online public comment.
so with that, I'll make the motion
Wow. What's the motion?
to approve what's before us, the recommendation of the 3 contracts.
And November 1st is up with the recommendations for.
Yeah,
With
with flexibility. I mean.
with flexibility.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's November 1st isn't a hard line in my opinion.
Well, yes, I'll add that to the motion if it needs to be in there.
So what I'm hearing is that, let's say, for instance, there was a massive fire somewhere and we know CAL FIRE is going to be deployed for potentially a month or so in October, then we would just call the contractor at that point.
Call the contractor and come in and
It doesn't need to be November 1st. It could give you the flexibility.
they give
And
you the
other-
flexibility and the flexibility to call them off because CAL FIRE is coming and it looks like weather-wise, once they get back.
And otherwise, if CAL FIRE is out there working diligently, but it's still not completed November 1st, we would call someone else in to help.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all part of the motion. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
So do I have a second?
I'll second his motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you,
Passes
Board.
7-0.
Hey,
Thank you, Eric.
Eric.
Appreciate it. We know you get it done. Appreciate you getting better.
You live right down the street.
We'll move on to item number 18. We're gonna do 18 and 19, then go back to 17, please.
Oh, okay. Item 18, action item, human resources, receive recommendations for 1, salary increases for the assessor, auditor controller, county clerk recorder, district attorney, sheriff and treasurer tax collector, and 2, provide staff direction on next steps.
Ms. Hawkins.
Good morning, Chair Heberty, members of the board. Judy Hawkins, Human Resources and Risk Management Director. And as we will go through our timeline of correcting the salaries or establishing set salaries for our elected officials, I am bringing before you today the recommendations for the salaries of our other elected officials outside of the Board of Supervisors. And one of the things, we were asked to bring this back along with budget. And so we did go and we took into consideration the COLA that will be coming up in October, because anything that we do here will not be effective until after the COLA, which is the first pay period in October. And so we did calculate what the salaries would be with the upcoming COLA. And then we went back out, double checked what our comparable counties are paying. There are some that have had changes in July. And then we're bringing forward the recommendation using Evergreen's formula of comparing 50% of the average of our comparable counties and 50% of our internal departments that are comparable to these positions. And then before you are the recommended increases for the elected officials. I will say that because our next item, which is repealing all of the ordinances out there and then bringing back and setting their salaries by resolution, we do have to set their salaries either by the recommended increases or bringing back their current salaries. But we do have to set their salaries. Can I answer any questions?
Yeah. It's a lot of work you put in to make sure that the COLA got put into the recommended salary. I don't remember giving you direction as the board to do that.
So you did not, and
No,
in
we-
conversations with county council, because the COLA, their salaries will be increased by the 3% in just a couple of months before.
But this is happening after. So you're retroactively making sure that they get the 3%, right?
No, so just to be clear, the board has already voted a long time ago. These electeds were already receiving the COLA.
Yeah, but
Right.
I understand that. That's simple math and logic on a timeline. We're talking about the new salaries.
Right, so because
That's exactly what I said, though. Yeah, I know. So it's not like it would have been tacked on already. This is coming after the fact on the COLAs.
it has to come after the COLAs because the elected official salaries are currently set via ordinance. And as you know, you can only change an ordinance via an ordinance. And so that takes time to become effective. So any changes separate from the COLA, just time-wise have to come after the COLA. And I apologize if I'm not understanding the.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a
Question.
question. It was a statement.
Okay.
No, it's, yeah, I understand that it comes after the COLA. Very simple on the timeline. But we're raising it. What you have proposed on these salaries is higher than what they're making right now. Correct?
Yes, it is an increase.
Yes,
on-
and then you went ahead and added another 3% to that. No, she said she compounded in there because it happened after the thing, so she figured it into the calculations.
So
She
we-
did say that.
But it actually reduces what.
Don't
the
tell me
recommended-
no.
Yeah.
So it increases what our electeds are making.
I-
So when we do the comparables, it actually decreases the recommended percent to change their salaries. So it does balance out. And it also, when we're looking at doing this calculation annually, then it keeps from a bigger recommendation coming in next year. So it does
You have to
balance
factor the
out.
COLA before you,
I don't have to.
Yes.
I don't have to do anything.
you don't have to.
No, the COLAs are based off of the salaries right now.
Right,
It's cost of living adjustment.
right.
So what we're doing is we have a recommended salary, Martin, that's higher than now. So that's a adjustment.
Yeah.
And then they're tacking on a cost of living adjustment onto the adjustment. Because
It's the other way around.
It's opposite.
So just.
I know it's coming after. I know how it works. Generally, it compounds.
So the process that we used to come up with this recommendation is we did look at what the salaries are going to be after the 3% COLA. And then we took their comparables and we did the calculations. And so that put them at a higher rate. And so then the recommended increase was a little bit less because they are looking to they'll be at a little bit higher, the 3% higher. So
You kind of have to do it that way, in my understanding, because if you did it the other way around, it would be even, you'd be stacking it even higher if you did 3% on top of everything else. Yeah. Does that make sense? He's looking at me funny.
So basically, we took this recommendation as if it was the first week in October and they've had the COLA. And so that's how the recommendation was calculated.
Still doesn't sit right with you?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
Because this doesn't go through till after October. Correct? Yeah. So we're looking at it today.
Yeah.
Based off this, she went ahead and did the 3% already it's exactly what I said. She just, they're switched, they're trying to say, they're trying to justify it, Martin. Look. I don't even have to consider the 3% COLA. Because it would go to the salary that was there. This is coming afterwards, so they're getting a raise afterwards.
Because,
Yeah,
because-
no, I know, I don't have to consider the COLA into the raise.
Yes, we do, because it doesn't get implemented until November.
I know, it's perfect.
No, it's not, Ben.
So just to be clear,
Yeah, I know exactly how the math works, Amanda.
just to be clear, the elected
I
official.
don't even have to consider the COLA because they got it beforehand and then they get a raise afterwards.
So that's the question that's before the board today. The COLAs the elected officials are receiving the COLAs along with all other county employees in October. The question before the board is today is whether, in addition to that, the board would like to make an increase to the elected official salaries of what is presented and recommended here, or of something different, or not at all. The board has all of those options available to it, of course. The COLA is happening regardless.
Yes,
So,
that is true.
and so all we're talking about with all of that included is $45,994 and some cents.
So that is the additional cost for the recommended increases.
Okay.
On top of the COLA, which is
Yeah,
happening regardless.
already
Yes.
budgeted.
Thank you. Okay.
And that's general fund dollars.
For part of the fiscal year, not the entire fiscal year. You're just talking about the current fiscal year. So it goes through in November.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's minus 4 months. So 45 divided by 8 is about 5.5900. And then you multiply by 12. It's significantly different for a whole year.
Yeah.
They're just giving you a fraction of the year on it. The next following year, it'll be compounded up to a full 12 months. So
So the full weighted cost is $74,741.
ding,
That's the full weighted cost. That's the
For- for a annual.
45,900 plus the 28.
So the 28 has been, like I said, the COLAs were anticipated and has been
Weighted
budgeted.
cost, you're saying for 12 months is 74,000?
Yes.
yes.
Because that's awful similar to the 45 and the 28 comes out to about the same amount, so. Teresa, you were gonna have some comments on the funding that we talked
Just
about.
that Chairman Hubbardie had asked if it was general fund, and because most of these departments are general fund departments, it will be mostly general fund.
Any other comments, Supervisor Fallendorf?
I was just gonna say I would support staff's recommendation, but I think you need a call for public comment.
Yeah. Public comment? Is there any public comment on this item?
We have no online public comment.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board.
Move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I.
All opposed?
No.
4-1. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We'll move on now to item number 19.
Item 19, action item, Human Resources. 1, introduce and waive first reading of an uncodified ordinance repealing all salary-related provisions of existing ordinances setting the salary of the assessor, auditor controller, clerk recorder, district attorney, sheriff and treasurer tax collector, and stating that such salaries will be set by the board via resolution, and 2, authorize summary publication of the ordinance.
Second.
Chair Hubbardie, so this is the other piece. So we are asking to repeal all ordinance setting salary for these elected officials. And then, as just approved, we will be bringing back a resolution, setting their salaries. And this, we are not required to have their salaries set by ordinance. And so by resolution does make it easier to bring before your board and make changes.
Super, thank you. Supervisor Stopper?
Even if it is paradoxical, after public comment, I'm willing to move this item.
Do we have any public comment? Do we have any online?
We have no online public comment.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can we take a
Take a
5-minute
5-minute break and then we'll come back from budget. Thank you. Great, and we're back. Madam Clerk, we read item number 17, please.
Item 17, action item, administrative office. 1, conduct fiscal year 2025-26 county recommended budget hearings. 2, receive a presentation. And 3, direct staff to return on September 23rd, 2025 with the county budget resolutions.
Thank you. Sumner.
Good morning, board, honorable members of the board. Denise Hubner, Assistant CEO, here to present the fiscal year 25-26 recommended budget.
Hang on just a second.
Sorry. Right. Yeah. So the topics I'll be covering in this presentation today are this portion of the county budget process, overall budget and general fund overviews, general fund revenue outlook, the department's personnel capital asset and CIP requests, overview of notable budget adjustments, and then staff recommendations and acknowledgements. The budget process. There are many budget influences that we take into consideration when preparing the budget, both at CEO recommended and when we do revisions. Some factors that impacted the fiscal year 25-26 budget are the downturn of the economy, federal and state funding uncertainty, the impact of inflation on goods and services, and increases to fixed costs such as insurance, unfunded liability, and utilities. The County Budget Act requires that the board approve the recommended budget by June 30th of each year and hold public hearings and adopt the recommended budget by October 2nd of each year. The recommended budget was presented to the board on June 10th and was approved as the working budget on June 24th. Recommended budget was prepared with a conservative approach, which means we estimated revenues conservatively low and expenditures conservatively high. The revised recommended budget is set for adoption on September 23rd, at which time it will become the fiscal year 25-26 adopted budget, which is submitted to the State Controller's Office and acts as the official budget of record. The revised budget includes changes to dedicated funding and associated expenditures, true ups and rebudgeting of grant revenue, capital projects, and other contractual obligations that were not realized in fiscal year 24-25. Recalculated general fund contingencies and reserve funds due to the close of the prior year books and the final figures that are now available. Adjustments for actual ending fund balances, and it also incorporates any other factors that were unknown at the time of CEO budget preparation in April and May. Because the purpose of the revised recommended budget is to reflect changes based on new information and ending fund balance adjustments after budget approval in June, my focus today will be on the changes that have been incorporated into this budget package, as well as a snapshot of how the county general fund closed last fiscal year. The overall budget. Total revenue in the overall budget is just under $280 million. The largest sources of revenue are operating transfers in of $81.5 million, state revenue of $62.5 million, and taxes of $40.4 million. The most notable adjustments are a large increase to operating transfers, which is due to a true up of the roads and county CIB project costs, and the general fund rollover transfer to county capital. A $4 million increase to intergovernmental funds was made to include funds from COG that cover a portion of wagon trail expenditures. 2.3 million of the federal revenue increase and 1.3 million of the state revenue increase were due to adjustments in the road CIP accounts based on actuals for last year. 1.2 million of the increase to state revenue was an increase for unbudgeted JBCT state reimbursements. Overall expenditures. Total expenditures in the overall budget are $417.8 million. The largest categories of budgeted expenditures are $108 million in contingencies, salaries and benefits of $80.3 million, or 19% of the total budget, operating transfers out of $81.4 million, services and supplies of $48 million, which is 11% of the total budget. The major changes in the budget compared to the previously approved budget are $9.4 million of the adjustment to capital assets was due to a true up of Wagon Trail project costs, and $3.7 million is for adjustments to other road CIPs. $668,000 is for true up of project costs in the county capital CIP fund. And 5.4 of the increase in operating transfers out was due also to a true up of Wagon Trail. That included a transfer from RIM for expenses that did not occur in the prior year. 3.2 is related to the general fund rollover balance moving to county capital. So you will see a $3.2 million adjustment there. There is an increase in services and supplies of $2.76 million for unpaid JBCT prior year costs that were rolled into the current year. That is offset by a $600,000 reduction in insurance premiums, which also impacted services and supplies. The 8.3 in additional contingency appropriations are due to a true up of final fund balance numbers over all budget units. The general fund overview. In June, when the budget was presented to the board, the structural deficit was at $4.66 million. At that time, admin recommended closing the budget gap with one-time funds, which included a transfer of $1.45 million from the PARS investment account and a redirection of $500,000 from TOT contingencies. The use of these two one-time funding sources brought the deficit to $2.7 million. Due to the $1.2 million in identified unbudgeted revenue in state reimbursements, a decrease to insurance premiums, admin has revised our recommendation for one-time use of funds. The budget as presented no longer includes pulling funds from the PARS investment account, but does still include a transfer of $500,000 of TOT contingencies. The structural deficit as budgeted is at $3.57 million. After taking into consideration that use of one-time funds of $500,000 from TOT, the deficit is reduced to just over $3 million. We do anticipate having another additional approximately $1 million in salary savings to help further close the budget deficit. I would like to note, admin previously requested reductions from departments of 5 to 10% during budget preparation in May. This budget revision does not include any additional reductions, as departments have communicated that any deeper reduction to general fund departments will result in significant staffing and service level impacts. Admin will continue to look for other cost savings or revenue optimizing strategies to help weather the current recessionary period. General fund ending fund equity as of June 30th was $8.1 million. Fund equity was initially estimated with the conservative approach at $4.5 million. Fund equity came in $3.6 million higher than anticipated. This was largely due to a $2.7 million JBCT contract expense that was expected to be paid by June 30th, but was not. The $2.7 million for those invoices is budgeted to be transferred back to the general fund to pay that expense in the current fiscal year. So that difference of 3.2 rollover and the 2.7 is what actual fund equity would have been had that expense been paid. The breakdown of uses of the $8.1 million in rollover fund balance is $1.8 million is refunding our contingencies of $1.8. $3 million is funding the general fund deficit, just over $3 million. 3.2 is budgeted as a transfer to county capital. Again, 2.7 of which is budgeted back as a transfer into the general fund to cover that cost. Our general fund contingencies is just above the board policy level of 2% of the average of general fund expenditures for the prior 3 years. And our general fund reserve is set at 5.8 million, which is also slightly higher than the board policy level, which is 8% of the average of the prior 3 years for general fund revenue. Total general fund revenue is budgeted at $75.8 million. The largest sources of general fund revenue are taxes at 33.5 million, transfers in of 17.1 million, charges for services at 9.5 million. The most notable adjustments for this budget cycle to general fund revenue was that 1.2 million increase in intergovernmental state revenue due to an unbudgeted state reimbursement, and 101,000 increase to building permit revenue. General fund expenditures by budget class. Total expenditures are 83.8 million. The largest categories of general fund expenditures are salaries and benefits of 46.5, which is 53% of the total budgeted expenditures. Services and supplies of 26.1 million, which is 30% of total expenditures. And the most notable changes to expenditures in the general fund are, as mentioned before, that 2.76 million in JVCT prior year costs was added in. And that amount is offset by a 608,000 reduction to prior estimates and insurance premiums. Operating transfers out also increased, and that's due to the $3.2 million transfer coming out of the general fund rolling into county capital for rollover fund balance. General fund discretionary revenue. So while the general fund has a total of 81.4 million in revenue, which includes general fund, the revenue going directly into the 1010 fund, Prop 172 and TOT, 38.8 million of that is department specific. And by that, I mean, it's items such as transfers, grants, reimbursements, or other restricted funds. This means only 43 million of general fund revenue is discretionary. General fund discretionary revenue is made up of 3 sources. General revenues, which is taxes, things like taxes and franchise fees of 37.4 million, Prop 172 public safety revenue of 3 million, and transient occupancy taxes of 2.65 million. Our revenue outlook. Secured property taxes are the most stable source of revenue for the county. The amount of property taxes received for fiscal year 24-25 came in just under 17.4 million, which was 750,000 more than the budget for the year. Secured property taxes are estimated this year to come in at about 17.2 million. This visual represents how each dollar of property taxes is split. There's a common misconception that the county receives or is the recipient of all or the majority of property taxes, when in reality, only approximately 18 cents of every dollar goes into the county coffers. The largest recipient of property taxes is the school districts with 67 cents of each dollar. This graph shows the current fiscal year's 1% property tax distribution. The largest recipient of property tax, again, is the school districts, and their 67% is made up of the normal 55% of property taxes with an additional 12% related to ERAF funding, which is a total of $73.1 million that goes to the school districts. The county receives just over 18%. That's made up of 17% that goes to the county general fund, or 18.8 million. 1% to the county road fund at 1.3 million, and a small amount going to the airport. Sales and use taxes. This is a less stable revenue source than property taxes. The activity we see in sales tax revenue is often a good representation of the overall health of the economy. Sales and use tax collections in fiscal year 24-25 totaled 4.75 million, which was 150,000 less than anticipated. The fiscal year 25-26 budget reflects a slight decline from the prior year, as we're estimating sales tax figures at approximately 4.65 million. Our office will be closely watching sales and use tax collections as the economy changes can directly influence this revenue source, and we'll bring a item at mid-year if adjustment is necessary. The sales and use tax distribution. So this chart shows the 8.25% of Calaveras County sales tax is collected. I want to highlight that the state general fund receives 48% of collections. The county general fund and city receive a combined 12% of collections. Fire receives just over 12% between Measure A and Prop 172. And the sheriff receives just under 6% of Prop 172 collections. This distribution does look different than prior years because the Measure A fire tax was just approved by voters in 2024. It's estimated that the fire districts will see an additional just over $6 million in funds for fiscal year 25-26, which is related to Measure A. TOT, transient occupancy taxes are taxes charged to travelers when they rent accommodations like hotels or vacation homes. TOT collections in Calaveras County have been fairly steady level since 2021 at approximately $2.7 million. The county received $2.69 million of TOT in fiscal year 24-25. That was just above the 2.65 that was budgeted for the year. The budget for the current year, we kept the same at 2.65. Excise taxes. Last fiscal year, the county received 2.75 million in excise taxes out of the 2.85 budgeted, so just under where the budget was. The fiscal year 25-26 budget is still set at 2.85 million as we're expecting a slight increase over prior year. Department requests. So these are the requests that were submitted in addition to what was approved in June already. There are only a handful of position changes being requested this budget cycle. The first one, the sheriff has a need for a sheriff services tech to start scanning historical records. This will aid in the transition of the coroner's office in the upcoming years. The cost of this change is estimated at $68,000 for the current year, which will cover 16 pay periods. Admin is requesting the reestablishment of the pay scale for the senior admin analyst. This will allow flexibility to underfill the principal admin analyst position at a lower level if the recruitment is successful. This adjustment will be a future year cost savings. And admin in coordination with human resources is requesting the move of the safety manager to risk management. It's currently located under administration, but reports to risk management. The primary duties of the role fall more in line with the function of risk management. That change has no additional funding. Integrated waste management is requesting the reclassification of the mechanic position to a waste operations foreman. This change will assist in maintaining smooth and safe operations at the landfill. The two positions are equivalent in pay, so there is no additional financial impact of this change. And then a handful of other departments have also requested job description updates. The following positions have been included. 2 clerk recorder election coordinator positions, the recorder clerk 1-2 series, the environmental health technician 1-2-3 series, and literacy coordinators. And again, those last ones listed, those are just some job description updates that need to happen. The county has multiple CIP accounts. The county's main CIP account, the airport CIPs that incur in that enterprise fund, and then we also have a road CIP account. The projects that have had changes since the board approval in June are listed. The funding for each project is also specified in the table. I would like to note that many projects the county completes are done using restricted funds such as grants that are required to be used for that specific purpose and cannot be used for other projects. The projects that are labeled as using county capital fund, that's prior year rollover of general fund into that account, so those funds are discretionary. The projects that were adjusted based on actual expenditures from the prior fiscal year are the Animal Services Facility, Railroad Flat Community Center exterior repairs, and the DA facility. The Colombo parking lot budget was increased due to the repair being more extensive than was originally anticipated. And in order to get a warranty, we need to do the more extensive repair. The new countywide projects that are being requested are replacement of a sheriff's office IT switches that are end of life, a new PATV server closet funded with PEG capital, and jail food ports refurbishments, which are funded with state-specific revenue specific to that project. The road CIP accounts that were adjusted based on prior year actuals are Lime Creek Road, Dogtown Road, Wagon Trail Phase 1, and Pope Street. And then Public Works is also requesting that the projects in the second section of the table are rolled from the prior fiscal year to allow for project work to be complete and remaining expenses to be paid. There were also only a handful of capital asset requests this budget cycle. The new capital assets that are included in the budget as presented are HHSA is requesting camera storage for CalWorks and behavioral health. Those are both funded with non-general fund dollars, being MA and MHSA funds. The recorder is requesting a multi-purpose scanner and printer funded with an SRF. And then admin is recommending that all capital assets related to the integrated waste management mechanic shop be removed from the approved capital asset list until after commercial fees are in place and a more in-depth cost analysis of the mechanic shop can be performed. So that covers all capital requests and personnel. I just did want to highlight some of the most notable adjustments that are included in the budget. I know the document's long. Community organizations, we included the revenue and expenditures for the Copperopolis Heat Grant. Elections, we added a November special election costs of $134,000. If we receive reimbursements for that, it will be brought at mid-year. Insurance, we had a decrease in $608,000 from what our estimates and insurance premiums were back in April when budget was prepared. The jail, I know you've heard this a handful of times, but that rollover in $2.7 million was included for JBCT costs and a transfer from county capital to cover that cost. We also removed, this is part of that PARS investment account it transferred to jail and sheriff. We removed that out of the budget for $450,000 for jail. And we included unbudgeted state reimbursements of $1.2 million.
May I ask, you said the election, special election in November when we vote on whether we get a gerrymander our districts, is that the one we're discussing? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Planning removed $1.2 million in REAP revenue because that revenue will be going directly to Stanislaus Regional Housing Authority. Public Works, there was an increase to the Wagon Trail budget of $13.1 million that were for expenses not paid in the prior year. So that's the same budget as last year. We just needed to roll it forward because expenses haven't been paid. We added in a $5.4 million transfer from RIM to cover Wagon Trail costs. We included $4 million in intergovernmental revenue from COG for Wagon Trail. And we trued up all other roads CIP costs, which took into account all prior year activity. The sheriff, we added a full-time sheriff services tech to scan the corner records and removed, this is the other portion of that PARS investment transfer, the other part which you saw in jail. We removed a one-time $1 million transfer from the PARS account into their budget unit. And then transient occupancy taxes, we included a true up of $9,856 to the fire districts to increase the amount to 25% of actual collections from fiscal year 24-25, as has been done the prior couple of years. So staff recommendations. Staff recommends that the board provide direction regarding any modifications the board would like incorporated into the budget prior to adoption on the 23rd, and direct us to bring back the county budget resolutions on September 23rd for budget adoption to remain in compliance with the County Budget Act. And then admin would just like to thank the board, department heads, fiscal staff, human resources, auditor's office, and IT Admin appreciates the combined effort and collaboration throughout this budget process. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any board questions or comments? Supervisor Fallendorf?
With Denise, I know we talked about this when you were reviewing budget with me. For the Colombo parking lot, since that number has gone up, is the reason why it wasn't considered under SRF rather than general fund?
So generally for Colombo building, we do split the expenses 44% and 56%, 44 being DRC, which is covered under CCP, and 56 being probation, which is covered under general fund. So because that's our normal split on most things that we're doing in that building, that's the split we took. would defer to Kim on whether or not her SRF that probation has would be able to cover the additional cost though. Outside of what county capital. She could probably speak to the restrictions in her SRF funding.
Ms. Craddock?
Or could just based off of what Supervisor Toppinelli and Dopper have said in the past, there were serious concerns of that parking lot, and I feel like those comments weren't heard, and now here we are with an additional increase, and that department was set on having this building. I don't want to take it away from another department that could be utilized for a different department.
So we used money from our AB 109 funds to cover some, and we also used our 678 money if we.
She's referring to the 80, it's about 85,000 in the general fund.
Yeah, that's,
So.
sorry,
No,
go ahead. So, yes, you have used your special revenue funds.
Yes,
There's further funds left in those accounts?
there are, it's very, 678 is still up in the air right now. 678, our allocation from the state still has not been determined. When we budgeted at our lowest allocation, which was 200,000. But unfortunately, the gap is up to 530,000. So we just have no idea where we're gonna fall in between, if it's gonna be the 230 or somewhere in between up to 530.
I can understand that, but then your other account,
The CCP.
yes.
We did increase that by 10,000. We would have to go to the CCP and ask for that. Yes, we do have a meeting coming up this Friday. We could pose the question.
There was, okay, I understand you're talking about the current year. There was funds left into those accounts from prior.
So depending on the state CCP, we needed a lot of those rollover accounts for positions. We already have one 678.
Just you're waiting on the state to be able to see where they're at, you know, hurry up and wait.
One position frozen because we don't know what that revenue is going to be. And with the CCP funding, there is a balance, but some of that balance does not belong to probation. It belongs to the sheriff's department, the DA's office, and behavioral health.
Perfect. With this in consideration, because Amanda did bring it up. Thank you for bringing it up, Ms. Follendorf. Going into this, seeing where our budget's at, you know, my personal assumption is, you know, some of these position control lists that we've graced with some more time, and some of this TOT money that we've graced with more time. Also, you know, waiting to see what the state's going to come forward. So at a certain point, from my position, it's time. We've been patient. So with the understanding that moving forward and hurry up and waiting for the state to tell you what they're going to actually give you while they're, you know, spending time fighting our own federal government with our tax dollars.
678 does have an anticipated ending fund balance at the end of this year of just under $1 million.
Yes, so this is my point. If not now, going into mid-year, it's our responsibility to level this budget. And it's not just you, Ms. Craddock, and your department. It's gonna be some other places, and I anticipate that we're gonna have to reach hard, and it's gonna be time that we start going after some of these special revenue funds to offset our general fund. And I'm going to make some of the hard decisions at that time that I've been kicking the can on so far. And that means going back on some of the things I changed my mind on in June also, so. Okay, sorry, Mrs. Waldorf,
I am using that as an example. I mean, I know Health and Human Services, we discussed that. I'm worried about what kind of fill-ins we're gonna have to use general fund for. And listening to our counterparts across the state, while we are in a better position at this moment in time, I'm just worried about some of these one-off general funds. And departments, I'm for departments wanting to do some of these things, but I want to really start looking at the SRF fund to help us stretch the general fund to deal with other situations that are coming here on the horizon. So
That's
if
understandable.
there's a way you guys can discuss it outside of this room, that's great. I just want to bring that up.
I have the same concern as our county capital fund is really our only not routine expenditure, general fund discretionary dollars, and we're drawing on that fund pretty quickly. And not depositing the amount of rollover balance that we used to. Yes, we saw 3.2 of rollover go in there, but as you heard me mention like 4 or 5 times, 2.7 of that was not true rollover.
Right.
Where a couple years ago, we would see $5 or $6 million that rolled into that capital account, and it was true rollover balance. So we are far exceeding just with our routine maintenance projects, what we're depositing into that account year over year. So I think your concerns are valid.
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Waldorf.
That's all I have.
Okay, do we have any other board comments? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Craddock. Is there any public comment regarding this item?
We have no online public comment.
Okay, for that, I'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Denise, like I said before, in the next slide, I'd like to have your brain.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Amazing work. Thank you.
Sorry, I was a little slow on the draw there, but we closed the public hearing. Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to supervisor announcements. Supervisor Stopper,
Nothing.
Supervisor Toffenelli,
I have nothing to report.
Supervisor Fallendorf.
I will be attending along with the CEO and Supervisor Deputy, and I don't know who else is going. Are you going to? Okay, OCRC next week.
Enjoy.
Randall.
Where's it at?
Oh.
Oh.
My favorite place on earth.
I will
fine.
stop and grounds.
Have fun.
My stomping ground.
It was already said earlier by fire personnel, but today is the 10 years of Butte Fire, and just wanted to thank everybody that was involved, and everybody's feeling it going through the lightning complex right now. We do have amazing personnel in our county.
Thank you. I would like to remind everybody the state of the county is this Thursday. The SNC meeting was canceled in Shaver Lake on the 3rd and the 4th due to fires down there. I'd like to thank the CAL FIRE OES Sheriff CEO and Supervisor Fallendorf for doing a tour of the burned area. And thank the sheriff also for letting the Friday night happen in Murphy's. And just to let everybody know that train is coming this Friday to Ironstone, so it'll be very cool. That's it. Anything else, Madam CEO? County Council? Nothing? Holly? Okay. Thank you. 11:07.